Romance movies. As you may know, I love romance movies. I wanted to talk today about 20 romance movie couples, and I want to do a deep dive into whether I personally believe they stay together forever. Some of these movie couples do get married, but I'm talking about together forever. Like end game. If life just went on and the credits never started, where would they be? So there are a few things that I believe make a good romance movie couple. It must include some of these, but maybe not all of the following. They have crushes on each other in real life. It usually comes out in a way of like 20 years later, they have a reunion or they do an interview with one of the actors and they say, yeah, I did have a crush on them while we were filming that. We need it. It adds a little bit of spice. Add a little bit of spice to that. Or they could just have really good chemistry and be really good actors. You can just make that come across somehow, and you see something beyond the words that are put in the script. A couple of examples that come to mind first for me, which won't be included in the list. The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone.
She came in and she was like a shot of espresso. Well, they won't notice now that she's like being bathed in sunlight.
Possibly because they were, you know, together in real life at some points, and it wasn't even technically a romance movie, and yet that is the first thing that comes to mind when I think of those movies, is their just absolute chemistry with each other. And an example of them having a crush on each other but you don't find out till later, A Walk to Remember, one of my favorite movies of all time, also not included in the list because of a reason I will mention in a second.
She said she kind of fell in love with you a little bit.
I think we both did. As he pulls up, I should speak like this.
A meet cute. We want a good, interesting, silly meet cute. They are friends first, or they've known each other for a long time. They already have a built relationship together that is not romantic yet. A deep connection. The way that I think of this is it's not just surface level, kind of like an intellectual, they talk about deep things together. They've got to make it through some type of adversity and come out the other side better than ever. And lastly, maturity. This isn't all about age, but it does have something to do with age. Your age doesn't necessarily determine your maturity, but I tend to think a lot more of the high school romance movies. It's a lot less likely. If we're looking at statistics here that I don't have, it's a lot less likely. So now that we have that basis down, let's move along. So this list is very, very highly curated that I made at 2 a.m. last night. Okay, a couple notes before we get into this list. This is serious business, people. I know a lot of people's favorite movies won't be included, and I had to like switch some around because they just didn't fit with what I'm trying to go for. A lot of these are ones that could go either way, not ones that you're like, oh, they obviously stay together. Like Jane Austen novel adaptations, they're together forever, obviously. Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth, together forever. And I also almost included some Nicholas Sparks novel adaptation movies because there are so many of those. But we're gonna get a little bit sad here, but a lot of those end with some type of death. And you can't really do that. Like I almost included The Notebook, but then I remembered how it ends. I had to cross that one out of the list. I'm like nervous because I think this could be very controversial. I think it could be controversial, but this is just how I feel and like what my gut was telling me. Here we go, let's start. Number 1, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So this was a 2003 film starring Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey. An advice columnist, Andy Anderson, tries pushing the boundaries of what she can write about in her new piece about how to get a man to leave you in 10 days. Enter executive Ben Barry, who is so confident in his romantic prowess that he thinks he can make any woman fall in love with him in 10 days. When Andy and Ben meet, their plans backfire. I said no to this one. This is the one that I'm probably the most unsure about because they both have jobs, they're both stable, I guess you would say, and they both seem like they're ready for a long-term relationship. But I think this is just a personal thing. When Matthew McConaughey is like the romantic interest in a movie, he seems like such a player in all of his movies that I'm like, I think they almost get married or get engaged and break off the engagement. They both seem like they're not completely ready to settle down together. So number 2, we have 13 Going on 30. This is a 2004 movie starring Mark Ruffalo and Jennifer Garner. A girl who's sick of the social strictures of junior high is transformed into a grown-up overnight. In this feel-good fairy tale, teenager Jenna wants a boyfriend, and when she is unable to find one, she fantasizes about being a well-adjusted adult. Suddenly, her secret desire becomes a reality, and she is transformed into a 30-year-old. But adulthood, with its own set of male-female challenges, isn't as easy as it looks. I think this is a yes and no. I still get confused by the ending. They do end up together at the end. They get married. It's because she went back in time when she was 13 because he always liked her. He liked her since they were 13. But she rejected him, and so they moved on with their lives. They didn't speak, and then she's 30 and she realizes, oh, I rejected him, so like we never ended up together. What I'm saying is, if she didn't go back in time and change it, then they would not have ended up together. But because she did, they are together forever. She went back in time, and then she comes out the door and they're getting married because she went back in time. Number 3, we have Flipped. This is a 2010 movie starring Madeline Carroll and Callan McAuliffe. When they meet in 2nd grade, Julie Baker falls instantly in love with her neighbor, Bryce Lowski. Bryce, however, does not feel the spark. From that day forward, he tries hard to keep brash and unpredictable Julie at bay. After 6 years, she begins to feel that she was wrong about him being the love of her life. Unfortunately, that is just about the time that Bryce begins to think he was wrong about Julie too. The tables have turned. The box office for this movie was $4.3 million, and that is a travesty. That's a travesty. I really wanted to think they ended up together, but they're so young, and even if they've known each other for years and everything, I don't think they end up together in the long run. They probably stay together until high school or college, and then they meet someone else. It can happen, and I want to believe that it can happen, but we're being super realistic, very strict here. I think their families are friends. I think they will always have some connection to each other, just not romantically. Number 4, we have When Harry Met Sally from 1989, starring Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal. So the story follows the title characters from the time they meet in Chicago just before sharing a cross-country drive through 12 years of chance encounters in New York City. The film addresses but does not resolve questions along the lines of, can men and women ever just be friends? So they encounter each other, they keep running into each other over the years. I think they're not the perfect couple. I think they're definitely not one of your just clean-cut couples, but I do think they end up together. I think they've been through a lot, and they've been through a lot together. They are really good friends without any romantic side to it. Number 5, we have 10 Things I Hate About You. This is from 1999 and stars Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger. Kat Stratford is beautiful, smart, and quite abrasive to most of her fellow teens, meaning that she doesn't attract many boys. Unfortunately for her younger sister Bianca, House rules say that she can't date until Kat has a boyfriend, so strings are pulled to set the dour damsel up for a romance. Soon Kat crosses paths with handsome new arrival, Patrick Verona. Will Kate let her guard down enough to fall for the effortlessly charming Patrick? Now this one's tough. This one's tough. I don't think they end up together. The issue with me is like the high school couples. The high school, it can happen and it does happen. I've seen it happen. But I don't think in the long run they end up together. They're still in high school. Like, I don't know, it's hard. But I know when you're in high school, everything is so dramatic and like you're in this small bubble and it's just hard. This is like a silly rom-com movie, so you don't really see any super deep moments of them together, but I just think it's a high school romance. So number 6, we have My Big Fat Greek Wedding. This is from 2002, starring Neela Vardalos and John Corbett. A young Greek woman falls in love with a non-Greek and struggles to get her family to accept him while she comes to terms with her heritage and cultural identity. I think 100% they end up together. They go through a lot in this, like with their cultural differences, and they get through that together. Just the fact that the family really accepts him, even though at first they were not okay with it. He shows them that he is serious about being with her. Like, I don't think he would have gone through all of that if he was not head over heels loved her. So number 7, we have My Best Friend's Wedding. This is from 1997 and stars Julia Roberts and Dermot Mulroney, and also Cameron Diaz, who I think is worth mentioning. Childhood friends Julianne Potter and Michael O'Neill had a deal to marry each other if they were still single by age 28. That's young. Now, 4 days before her 28th birthday, O'Neill announces that he's marrying a gorgeous 20-year-old named Kimberly. I thought they were going to add a last name. Suddenly realizing that she's actually in love with him, Julianne vows to stop the wedding at all costs. However, when she is appointed maid of honor, things get even more complex. I think that Michael and Kimberly do stay together forever. But I think it could either go two ways. I think they could stay together, but it's not the happiest relationship. He kind of leads Julianne on. He's kind of egging her on to stop this wedding, but I think he still loves Kimberly. Number 8, we have The Proposal, starring Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. Oh, from 2009. Did I say that? Oh, my voice is cracking. Here we go, everyone. Faced with deportation to her native Canada, high-powered book editor Margaret Tate says she is engaged to marry Andrew Paxton, her helpless assistant. Andrew agrees to the charade, but imposes a few conditions of his own, including flying to Alaska to meet his eccentric family. This one's pretty obvious. Yes, I do think they end up together. I think this is one of those movies where they are such good actors that they have great chemistry together. And I love the family dynamic. I think that really adds to if I think they're gonna be together forever, is if the family's involved, whether it's good or bad. I just like seeing like that type of dynamic. Number 9, we have While You Were Sleeping. This is a 1995 movie starring Sandra Bullock, Bill Pullman, and Peter Gallagher. Lonely transit worker Lucy Eleanor Motoratz pulls her longtime crush Peter from the path of an oncoming train. At the hospital, doctors report that he's in a coma, and a misplaced comment from Lucy causes Peter's family to assume that she is his fiancée. When Lucy doesn't correct them, they take her into their home and confidence. Things get even more complicated when she finds herself falling for Peter's sheepish brother, Jack. Yes, I do think they end up together. I know for a fact they end up together, actually. I think basically every romance movie that Sandra Bullock stars in, she does end up with him. She does, in fact, end up with him. And I absolutely love that for her. It's like they both know that they're not supposed to like each other. He's not supposed to like her because she's apparently his brother's fiance. He doesn't take it too far, but you can tell that there's a longing. I love a longing. Number 10, we're halfway there. We have Pretty in Pink. This is from 1986, starring Molly Ringwald, John Cryer, and Andrew McCarthy. I actually just watched this for the first time recently, and there was a twist. There was a twist. I for sure thought she was gonna end up with Ducky. This time, she ends up with the cute popular guy, which I thought was interesting. Andy is an outcast in her Chicago high school, hanging out either with her older boss, who owns the record store where she works, or her quirky classmate, Ducky, who has a crush on her. When one of the rich and popular kids at school, Blaine, asks Andy out, it seems too good to be true. As Andy starts falling for Blaine, she begins to realize that dating someone from a different social sphere is not easy. So yeah, Ducky is like the silly friend that has a crush on her. The whole time I was like, okay, she's gonna end up with the silly friend. It kind of reminded me of Tall Girl, where she ends up with the friend instead of like the gorgeous, popular Swedish guy. But she ends up with Blaine. I don't think they end up together. I don't. You know, a lot of it has to do with them being in high school. They didn't do it for me really. Like, I think maybe because in the back of my mind the whole time I was like, she's gonna end up with Ducky. It was just kind of a shock. Maybe if I rewatched it, because I've only seen it that one time. Number 11, we have Endless Love. This is a 2014 movie starring Alex Pettyfer and Gabriella Wilde. I actually went to the movies to see this, I think, on Valentine's Day. It did come out on Valentine's Day, so I did go watch that. Me and my sister went to go watch it. It's the perfect summer romance movie, but like the exciting, like, this is only gonna last for the summer type of romance. Following their high school graduation, Jade Butterfield, a sheltered but privileged teen, becomes enthralled with David Elliott, a working class youth with a troubled past. Though Jade and David quickly fall in love, Jade's father strongly disapproves of the relationship, while David's father advises caution. However, their parents' disapproval only makes the love-struck teens more determined to pursue the intense affair. I don't think they end up together. I think it's one of those exciting summer loves. You know, you are my summer love. Like, I think it was just an exciting summer love for them both. I think they'll probably break up sometime in college. Number 12, we have Leap Year. This movie stars Amy Adams and Matthew Good from 2010. When yet another anniversary passes without a marriage proposal from her boyfriend, Anna decides to take action. Aware of a Celtic tradition that allows women to pop the question on February 29th, she plans to follow her lover to Dublin and ask him to marry her. Fate has other plans, however, and Anna winds up on the other side of the Emerald Isle with handsome but surly Declan, an Irishman who may just lead Anna down the road to true love. So it's an Irishman and Amy Adams. And what more could you need? But I don't want to say it, but I don't think they end up together. There's something in me. This is one of those that I can't explain it. I think they're just so different. Like, he lives in Ireland and she lives in New York. I think they'll be together for a while, but I think the distance and her having to move all the way to Ireland, or him moving, I could not see him moving for her. That's the thing, I couldn't see him moving for her. And I couldn't see her leaving that job to be with him. So I just couldn't see like it realistically happening for them. Number 13, we have Hitch. This is a 2005 movie starring Will Smith, Eva Mendes, Kevin James, and Amber Valletta. Dating coach Alex Hitch mentors a bumbling client, Albert, who hopes to win the heart of the glamorous Allegra Cole. While Albert makes progress, Hitchens faces his own romantic setbacks when proven techniques fail to work on Sarah. When Sarah discovers Hitchens' connection to Albert, now Allegra's boyfriend, it threatens to destroy both relationships. Albert and Allegra are together forever. He tried to change himself for her, but she liked him the way he was. And I think they just work. They work. Hitch and Sarah. This was a tough one for me, actually, but I do think they end up together. I think they do. Number 14, we have The Wedding Planner. This is a 2001 movie starring Jennifer Lopez, and again, we have Matthew McConaughey. While celebrating her newest and most lucrative account, the wedding of internet tycoon Fran Donnelly, Mary is rescued from a near-fatal collision with a runaway dumpster by handsome pediatrician Steve Edison. After spending the most enchanting evening of their lives together, Mary thinks she's finally found a reason to believe in love. What she doesn't know is that Cupid and her career are about to collide head on. I know I said earlier about Matthew McConaughey, he seems like such a player, but for some reason, I think they do end up together. I also think that Mary, she seems really smart and cautious. I don't think she would be with him if she didn't really want to be with him forever. So I do think they end up together, even though Matthew McConaughey, he can't help it. He's just a, all right. Like, that's just how he is. That's just his demeanor. But like, it's hard for him not to come across as a player in these movies. In this one, it's more, I don't know, there's something is different about this movie. Maybe it's the glasses. Number 15, we have The Holiday. This is a 2006 movie starring Jude Law, Cameron Diaz, Kate Winslet, and Jack Black. Dumped and depressed, English Rose Iris agrees to swap homes with a similarly unlucky in love Californian Amanda for a much-needed break. Iris finds herself in a palatial Hollywood mansion while Amanda navigates the lanes of a picture-perfect English village. Soon enough, both lovelorn ladies bump into local lads, perfect for a romantic pick-me-up. The English cottage, that's how I want my home to look. I want my home to look like that English cottage, that exact Iris English cottage from The Holiday. 100 million trillion %. Iris and Miles stay together. Kate Winslet and Jack Black, they 1,000,000% stay together forever. Graham and Amanda Woods, I do think they end up together, but it's not as crystal clear as with Iris and Miles, but I do think they are together forever. I like how she gets along with his daughters. Like, he has 2 girls and she's like, he's a girl dad. Number 16, we have Sweet Home Alabama. This is a 2002 movie starring Reese Witherspoon, Josh Lucas, and Patrick Dempsey. New York fashion designer Melanie suddenly finds herself engaged to the city's most eligible bachelor, but Melanie's past holds many secrets, including Jake, the redneck husband she married in high school, who refuses to divorce her. Bound and determined to end their relationship once and for all, Melanie sneaks back home to Alabama to confront her past, only to discover that you can take the girl out of the South, but you can't take the South out of the girl, and that true Reese Witherspoon. I think Melanie and Jake end up together and stay together forever. Of course, she doesn't end up with Andrew, but he only knew her as, you know, the fashion designer girly, but Jake knows her as, you know, just the Southern girl, you know, the Southern girl. And he really knows her for her and loves her regardless. And they have that whole history, like they've known each other since they were just little kids. This is like not on the subject, but I realized that I like when the guy is like kind of sad and he's kind of like struggling a little bit, which I don't know what that says about me. He's just kind of sad and pining. Anyway, number 17, we've got You've Got Mail. Or not We've Got, but You've Got Mail. This is a 1998 movie starring Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. Struggling boutique bookseller Kathleen Kelly hates Joe Fox, the owner of a corporate Fox book chain store that just moved in across the street. When they meet online, however, they begin an intense and anonymous internet romance, oblivious of each other's true identity. Eventually, Joe learns that the enchanting woman he's involved with is actually his business rival. He must now struggle to reconcile his real-life dislike for her with the cyber love he's come to feel. It's really hard for me to say no to a Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks movie and say they wouldn't stay together forever. And that's why I'm not. They are staying together forever. It's one of those that they have a deeper connection. It's a kind of more of a intellectual type of connection. Some of my favorite romance movies are the ones that they don't kiss until the very end and nothing happens until the very end. See, I was against it a little bit because I saw a TikTok that someone was like, they do not end up together. They were doing this and this and this. They don't end up together. And that, of course, stuck in my mind. And anytime anyone has a different opinion than me, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Number 18, we have The Prince and Me. This is from 2004, starring Julia Stiles again and Luke Mobley. At college, Paige meets Eddie, a fellow student from Denmark whom she first dislikes but later accepts, likes, and loves. He proves to be Crown Prince Edward. Paige follows him to Copenhagen and he follows her back to school with a plan. This one's tough because I love them together, but I don't think they end up together. Not saying that you can't make it through adversity, but I think there's just so much in the way. She's from the farm and he's a prince. You know, they're both like, I'll give up my life for love, which, you know, it happens and it's super romantic, but we're being realistic here. And also they're in college and they're young and they're just like so caught up in everything that I just don't think they end up together. I know there are movies after this one, but those don't count because Julia Stiles is not in them. Who is this other woman? No offense to the actress, I'm sure you're amazing. So number 19, we have Maid of Honor, M-A-D-E. This is a 2008 movie starring Patrick Dempsey. We're having so many repeats here, and Michelle Monaghan. Always shy of commitment, Tom lives as a serial dater. Hannah, his best friend, has wanted to marry and now has found Mr. Right. Just as Tom realizes he really loves Hannah. When she accepts him to be in her bridal party, Tom seizes the opportunity to prevent the nuptials and woo her himself. I'm just gonna come out and say it, I don't think they end up together. I think they're together for a few more years, but I don't think he's ready to give up his lifestyle. And number 20, last we have Crazy Rich Asians. This is a 2018 movie starring Constance Wu and Henry Golding. Rachel Chu is happy to accompany her longtime boyfriend Nick to his best friend's wedding in Singapore. She's also surprised to learn that Nick's family is extremely wealthy and he's considered one of the country's most eligible bachelors. Thrust into the spotlight, Rachel must now contend with the jealous socialites, quirky relatives, and something far, far worse, Nick's disapproving mother. I think they end up together. I like how this movie it starts out with them already being in a long-term relationship, and a lot of it is just things that they go through with his family. I just know in my heart they end up together. I know it. So those were my predictions for what I think the future is of these romance movie couples. Let me know if you have a different opinion. No, don't. Please don't. Don't. It'll hurt my feelings. Just remember, these aren't real people. Let me know if there are any other like cute movies that you think will end up together forever and ever. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.